Funding for this program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and contributions to this station. Coming up, a nonprofit working to inspire young female programmers.
It's really about having the girls understand the concepts.
And addressing a potential shortage of computer scientists.
We still have a gender expectation that, women are suited for certain roles and not others.
Exploring the frontiers of science. Probing cutting-edge technologies. Seeking answers to the big questions. Welcome to SciTech Central. Lane and Courtney Powell, an Orlando couple, are helping change the lives of young people. They founded a nonprofit organization to encourage middle and high school girls to pursue careers in science and technology. Young women make up a significant majority of college students, but they represent less than a quarter of those studying the STEM subjects: science, technology, engineering, and math. There's wide agreement that for the United States to remain a world leader, we must bring more women into these fields. Tech Sassy Girls, the signature program of Collegiate Pathways, aims to do just that. It provides middle and high school girls exposure to technology careers through workshops and mentorship.
We have a full day for you. It's really about having the girls understand the concepts. It's important for me for them to see the behind the scenes of how an app is built and some of the things that they typically take for granted on a regular basis.
Who wants to learn about software, computer software? Who wants to learn about how to build an app?
There's a mixture of girls in our program. There are some that are brand new. They've never written a line of code before in their lives. And then there's some that are more advanced. So our hope is just engaging them.
During a recent hackathon at the Orlando Public Library, the girls were introduced to coding languages and programs.
This is code. Now, it doesn't look very pretty. There's a lot of symbols and characters that are on the screen here. But what I wanted to show you, just like different languages, you can say the same thing. And in this case, this code is basically designed to print a message to the screen.
After being shown the tools available to them, the girls broke into groups to put their skills to the test.
Typically, a hackathon is really solving a business problem in the community. Today, we're doing a mini version of it and working with girls in middle and high school for 4 hours and helping them solve an issue within their respective communities focused on education, women in technology, financial literacy, and childhood obesity.
We choose either if we want to make an app or a website for that problem. We chose the topic of childhood obesity, and we're putting different websites and forums for parents to do blogs and stuff like that.
The girls are working with real-life graphic designers, real-life coders, real-life project managers, and they're helping them through the process. We try to implement real-world methodologies to solving problems. So we take them through the design session, the brainstorming, the storyboarding.
Just peeking in on some of the conversations that they're having right now in their brainstorming sessions, I'm totally blown away.
How would the game work? An app? Okay. How would that work?
Our app is called Trivia Friends. In this app, we are trying to accelerate people in science and mathematics.
Tech Sassy Girls also matches participants with mentors who serve as both advisors and role models.
STEM was a very male-dominated field, so to speak. Now that more women are going into it, it's important for us girls to have mentors so that we can go into that field, know what we want to do, and so we don't get intimidated as much.
We're very excited that we get so many women from different companies and different backgrounds that come and support our events because the girls get to actually see women who look like them in STEM discipline.
The girls can also pitch their ideas to professionals in the field.
This website is called Fun Healthy Living for Families. It originally started out as an app, but we felt that the app masked our creativity, so we transferred it to a website.
For founder Lane Powell, getting girls interested in STEM is what the program is all about.
I would always encourage someone to join Tech Sassy because no matter what day, no matter what we're doing, we're always learning about STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. So it's always helping and encouraging young readers.
Speechless today. This was amazing. STEM-mazing, amazing. Y'all are awesome. Give yourselves. Fantastic.
The demand for trained people to fill technology jobs will only grow in the next decade. The Iron Yard Coding School is helping fill that demand by empowering adults to start second or even third careers in tech.
Welcome to the Iron Yard. We are a 12-week intensive boot camp for people who are looking to start new careers as web developers and app developers. We have 3 courses, and we do full-time training plus job placement to help people move into new careers. This is our front-end classroom. We have 10 students in here right now. It is web development focused. This is our back-end web development class in Ruby on Rails. It isn't app development, it really is for web development for websites and back-end. This is our mobile class. We're running our 2nd iteration of it, and they do app development for iOS. So one of the most important things that we do with students is not just teaching them the vocabulary and the syntax that they need to know, but also teaching them to think like developers, because I do think that that's a very different skill set, and it's a learned skill set. It's not something that most people come with naturally. And so we have students from a variety of different work backgrounds, life experience backgrounds that are coming in and learning together.
I was a martial arts instructor. I ran a karate school in Winter Park, just looking to change my career. I've been learning more in 1 week than I taught myself in 9 months.
Getting to see students that have come in with no technical experience and then take that to where they're actually employable and they're getting hired and they're making that life change that they've been trying to do, it's huge. There's nothing like it. When a student emails me or comes by to tell me that they've gotten a job offer that they're so excited about, I love it. It's the best feeling.
The preceding story is part of WUCF's American Graduate Initiative, bringing awareness to the dropout crisis and encouraging Central Florida's children to succeed. Efforts to bring tech jobs back to America, called urban onshoring, is a movement gaining momentum across the country. Startup Box, a group based in New York's South Bronx, focuses on the gaming industry.
Around the country, there has been a push in the tech industry to keep these jobs at home, including in the gaming community.
I was a semi-professional gamer for about 14 years.
I have most of the consoles that are out. I'm very into PC gaming.
I've been gaming since I was about 4 years old, and I actually went to school for it, got my degree, and currently I'm working on my first indie project.
While many of these advanced gamers have a deep knowledge of computer and video games and their design, many have had trouble translating their highly developed skills into jobs in the tech sector.
There is such a huge gap between entry level and actually getting into the tech industry. That was my problem. I had all the credentials, but there was no actual bridge to get there.
According to the Entertainment Software Association, there are around 150,000 people working in the multi-billion-dollar U.S. gaming industry, a number that continues to grow. Majora Carter is an urban revitalization strategist in the South Bronx, New York, who saw an opportunity to bring some of these tech jobs to her neighborhood.
I'm constantly looking for ways to create opportunities for low-income communities to move into the real economy. The world is firmly in the digital age. So we started immediately to look for where are the pain points within the tech world where we can find a way to kind of make sure that the folks in our communities can connect and then build careers from that. And we found it in quality assurance.
Quality assurance testing, or QA, is the method by which a piece of software is tested to ensure that it meets design specifications. It is a crucial piece of the software development process, but over the last 20 years, much of this work has been sent overseas.
When we did our market research, there was a lot of dissatisfaction in the industry in terms of the product that they got back. And we realized we were the game playing public. We were their market, and if we could add value in terms of the type of focus groups and market insights that our folks would just naturally give to a product, then we could not only test it, but we could also provide those market insights, which were incredibly valuable to our clients.
To fill this need, she formed Startup Box, a quality assurance company that would serve as a subcontractor to New York City game developers and provide entry-level QA positions and job training to members of the Bronx community.
We all know that QA is an entry-level position, but we're hoping that it's a foot in the door to the industry itself. It's something that, like, as a gamer, we covet. We want to get in.
To get off the ground, Startup Box hired a small group of testers and partnered with clients looking for game testing and customer service assistance.
During the day, this place is filled with half a dozen young testers, and what they do is they get a piece of software, usually a game or some other type of user experience product, and then they do bug reporting and steps to repeat to figure out exactly, is there anything wrong with this game, so they can report back to the client to make better ways to fix it.
It's not the conventional office setting, but no testing pit ever is. But I think they're also gaining the opportunity to be in professional settings around people who are at higher heights in the industry that they aspire to be in.
Startup Box employees also get the opportunity to meet with the company's clients directly, allowing them to get exposure and to make contacts in the industry.
Currently, we're working with Two Dots, a game about connecting dots. I'm the go-between between Two Dots and Startup Box, so they'll hand me an assignment and I'll delegate it to the team.
So I think the client visits are effective for that, just showing that that ladder isn't invisible. It's definitely attainable, even from people who come from communities like this.
We have a minimal viable training, which is just essentially less than a day long, where we're teaching different types of pretty simple bug reporting software, and then the rest of it is just on the job.
This minimal training allows for many more people to come through the door.
We know that the type of work that you do in quality assurance actually provides a fantastic foundation for you to build your other career. Those are great skills and transferable to anything in life, quite frankly.
We're arming them with the experience that the rest of the world tells them they can't have unless they have a bunch of letters behind their name. We expect and encourage attrition. We want to make sure that they get picked up by other places.
Some of the employees have already made great leaps since first walking into the Startup Box office.
I recently got accepted to another school. So I will be transferring there. It's New York Institute of Technology for computer science. So the experience gained here working for other people has, inspired me to be that person.
It's right up my alley. I plan on heading up my own studios one day, so it's given me plenty of experience.
By creating QA job opportunities in the South Bronx, Startup Box has played an important role in the urban onshoring movement and has taken steps to bringing the tech sector to the neighborhood.
This little space became one of the most successful, even though informal community centers. Part of the important reason why we wanted to make sure that people could see us was that we wanted folks in the neighborhood to know that people who look just like them were involved in the tech economy. What we're doing is saying, we've got talent in our own communities. We're going to support and train and nurture it here. We are creating a position for ourselves that is integral to the tech economy.
From Seattle to Miami, cities are going wireless to boost productivity, attract businesses, and bridge the digital divide. More than 250 cities have begun creating public internet hotspots. The Big Apple is one of them.
Reliable internet service isn't a luxury when you're looking for a job. Jason Holloway says it's a necessity.
I go on my job search engines and I just check for job openings. I also check my resume, make sure my resume's looking good, up to par.
That isn't so easy for residents of public housing, Holloway says, like him.
Because there's no internet access as far as in my home or around here. A lot of these families are single mothers, so they're trying to feed a family, and it's pretty tough for the cable to stay on when you have mouths to feed.
It's easier to get online when one of the Housing Authority's Wi-Fi vans comes to his complex. Residents can use its wireless signal to get online or one of the computers in its mobile lab. But it only shows up for one day every other week. In a speech to a technology conference earlier this year, Mayor de Blasio said the city needs to do better.
We must have universal, affordable, high-speed internet access throughout this city. It's as simple as that.
The mayor put his senior counsel, Maya Wiley, in charge of bringing better and cheaper internet service to New York.
We need more competition. We need more alternatives to how infrastructure gets built and delivered. We need to leverage every asset we have, including the cities. So it's public assets as well as private. It's public and private partnerships.
The assets the city leveraged first were payphones. The Bloomberg administration ran a pilot program that offered free Wi-Fi at around 20 public phones. Then it asked tech visionaries to dream up a payphone of the future. Earlier this year, the de Blasio administration asked private sector firms to submit proposals for making that dream a reality throughout the city by installing 7,500 new public phones that also provide free wireless internet service.
85 feet, hopefully, around each payphone site. So you're literally creating wireless hotspots that are free. It benefits business, it benefits competition, and it benefits the public.
The new phones will make more of the city like the Columbia University campus. Its open Wi-Fi network lets anyone get online while soaking up rays.
Here you go, Mr. Mitchell.
It let us make a video call to Christopher Mitchell, whose Minneapolis nonprofit advises cities on how to improve internet access. He thinks free Wi-Fi is the right first step.
Low-income people and especially minority populations really depend on mobile devices. So having Wi-Fi that they can use when they're on the go is going to be a good way of keeping their costs down. But you're not going to see kids writing term papers on mobile devices, or at least it would be nice if they didn't have to. They'll need better options in time.
Public housing resident Jason Holloway says free wireless internet at payphones will make a difference.
Oh man, it would be great for the community.
The city expects the first new payphones with internet hotspots to be up and running before the end of the year.
Shay Glennie, the director of Orlando's Women's Business Center, knows the importance of sharing resources with aspiring entrepreneurs. She helps women across Central Florida nurture their businesses by leveraging digital technologies.
Shay, what is WeVenture and what is its mission?
WeVenture, powered by Florida Institute of Technology, is a network of resources across Central Florida. We're trying to build a community of women who want to start and grow more companies across Central Florida in all industries.
Why do you think there's a shortage of experience in technology among women entrepreneurs?
One factor I think that's significant to consider is lack of exposure and encouragement at a young age to futures in technology or as entrepreneurs. It's so important for all women to embrace technology, even if they don't have a technology business or a tech-enabled business, because we live in the digital age. We live in a digital era. And to be competitive and enter new markets, they've got to leverage digital technology. So we've got to keep working to reduce the fear barrier and increase the adoption rate of digital technologies among all womenpreneurs.
How does the community at large benefit?
As more women move into tech fields, as more women launch technology companies, and as more women leverage digital technology to grow and scale, it really is unto the economic benefit of all of us.
For more with Shay and womenpreneurs, visit our website for an extended version of this interview. The gender gap in tech fields occurs across the country. Only about a quarter of computer scientists in the U.S. are women. Seattle is considered a tech hub, but it has one of the widest tech gender gaps in the U.S. A local group is trying to change that.
Hi, how are you? Carrie Stoller is on a mission to code. Every week she gets together with a group of women. They are taking classes through Girl Develop It, an organization that teaches women computer programming.
I keep saying that even when I'm frustrated with stuff I'm learning with coding, it's still so much better than where I was just a year ago when I wasn't really sure what opportunities I was going to have or where to go next.
Stoller is working to join a growing number of computer programmers, but she'll face challenges. Every year, the nation's leading tech companies, including Microsoft and Amazon, are required to release their diversity reports. These reports disclose participation rates among men and women in the industry. When you look at the participation rates as a whole, women represent around 30% of all the jobs in these tech companies. But when you dig deeper and look at just the tech-specific jobs, like coding and software development, these numbers dip to an average of 16% participation rate for women. And the participation rate for women in leadership positions is just 22%.
I think that if those numbers correlate, it is because we still have a gender expectation that women are suited for certain roles and not others.
Heather Wade is a technical product manager at Tune, a mobile marketing tech company in Seattle. Heather has worked as a computer programmer for over a decade. Computer programming has one of the lowest participation rates among women in the tech industry.
There's also a tendency to perceive women in leadership as being bossy. In a previous role, when I was firm with the engineering team, one of the other managers would pull me aside and tell me that I was managing like a field marshal and that maybe I should tone it down and be a little gentler with people. But really all I was trying to do was get people to meet deadlines. I have to say that I feel that things are better now than they were 8 or 10 years ago, but that doesn't mean that we're there. We still have progress we can make.
I can get lines of code that are tighter, that have fewer errors, mostly from women, and I think some of it is we have something to prove, right? We have to prove that we can still do this stuff the best.
Trish Malinas Dzizico was the first senior diversity administrator at Microsoft, where she worked from 1988 to 96 in the high-tech industry. Dzizico says that in order to truly close the gender gap, leadership and managers need to change a culture that they helped create. A culture evident in Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella's recent comments when asked about women seeking raises.
It's not really about asking for the raise, but knowing and having faith that the system will actually give you the right raises as you go along.
Really, it's about getting them to see a different way so that they can push from the top and listen from the bottom, right? Listen to what the women and people of color are saying about what it's like to work in that company, and then figuring out what are the things that you can change today.
Dzizico made a change in 1996 when she left Microsoft to create TAF, the Technology Access Foundation. TAF is dedicated to STEM education for underserved populations. Dzizico says getting girls interested in technology at an early age is key to helping them stay with it later in life.
Can you do it? Nice, high five.
If you look at studies, it shows that girls are interested in math and science all the way up through like 3rd, 4th grade. So catching that and showing kids that, STEM and programming, you can still do that stuff, right? And you can still be interested in that stuff. Nobody's going to treat you any differently. And by the way, it's going to get you to a much better career in the long run.
Oh, let's look at your code for this, guys.
The news has spread, and parents want in on the golden coding ticket.
I got my monster person to chase my good hero.
Computer coding for kids has become a big trend in just the past couple of years.
I see you've got the code here. Forever, if I'm touching color blue, which is the color of your portal.
After-school coding classes like these have sprung up in elementary schools around the region.
See if you can figure out how do you get this guy Bob to notice when they're touching the color purple.
Eric Fredrickson teaches elementary kids to code in his after-school class called Creative Coding for Kids.
You can shout, "Hey everybody, it's game over," or whatever. 18 months ago it was just me and one assistant, and now we have 21 teachers, and we're in 16 schools. The demand and the response from the parents has been so positive.
Fredrickson has been a coder himself since the 90s. He founded Creative Coding for Kids after his daughter became interested in coding and wanted to take a class.
At this age, there isn't a lot of bullying. At this age, boys and girls aren't out to prove anything to each other quite as much. It's a much more comfortable and supportive environment, which is why it's so important to start them young.
This code right here, to teleport, doesn't work unless I press W.
I feel like I just fit in with the guys because I'm doing something with a whole room of them, but they're making me feel so welcome in that I'm not just a girl doing coding that's different from everyone else. They're making me feel like I'm part of a family.
The culture shift in coding is not just limited to grade school. Heather Wade credits the young co-founders of Tune for changes in her workplace.
I think that having new blood in the industry is what's going to change the game. They don't have a lot of the perceptions that people 10 or 20 years older than them would have. So when they address women in the workplace, they're addressing them as equals. And I think that does drip down through the ranks.
How do I get people at every part of the company, particularly for these larger companies, to really move the ball, to really make the change? I think that some companies are starting to see that, but they also have to be willing to move people or remove people who are in authority who are not willing to go along with the plan.
That's all for now on SciTech Central. Thanks for watching. Join us next week for more stories from the frontiers of science and technology. Funding for this program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and contributions to this station.